The Vegas Golden Knights have traded for Ivan Barbashev, and this is actually a big-time acquisition. And although a lot of people weren't really expecting him, and I did include him in my trade targets for Vegas at the deadline, I wasn't really sure that something like this would happen. So I wanted to give you my instant reactions on what Ivan can bring to the Vegas Golden Knights. So if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Let's not waste any more of your time, though. Let's go and get right into things. As mentioned, the Vegas Golden Knights today traded for Ivan Barbashev of the St. Louis Blues in exchange for the 2021 first-round draft pick of the Vegas Golden Knights in Zach Dean. Now, we haven't seen much from Zach Dean, and although it could come back and end up being like a big-time loss, a lot of people saw how Alex Tuch has done since being traded to the Buffalo Sabres in the Jack Eichel trade, and you see a lot of great things out of him. I'm sure we'll see good things out of Zach Dean long-term, but I think this is a really good acquisition at this current moment, and he brings a whole lot to Vegas, and although he's more of a rental at this current moment, at least due to all the cap situations, I think he can bring a lot to this team. At 27 years old, he is not a star, at least not at this current moment, but he brings a good amount to the Vegas Golden Knights, and he played alongside Alex Pietrangelo in the 2019 when the Blues won the Stanley Cup Finals. So you have a little bit of prior experience with a teammate on this roster in Pietrangelo, who is one of the stars for the Vegas Golden Knights. And although he doesn't bring star power, as mentioned, he still gives you a fair share amount of points. Last year, he brought in 60 points, a career high in 81 games. This year, he's sitting somewhere around the 27 mark, I want to say, 29 this year with 10 goals, 19 assists through 59 games. And that's not amazing. You're not at that 1 goal or 1 point per game that a lot of people hope for when you're speaking about like great level players. I think that's about where you land at great is 1 point per game. But you're still getting about 0.5. And the fact you're bringing him to the Vegas Golden Knights, not to be a star, but to be a guy that is coming off those lower lines, whether that's 2 or 3, not so sure, but he's definitely going to do a good job at filling a need for the Vegas Golden Knights in essence of a lower line need, and especially with the fact that Mark Stone is now out. Of course, being put on LTIR frees up your cap space. Let's talk about cap space a little bit real quick here, and then we'll kind of go back to what Ivan brings to this team and what this trade could mean for the remainder of the trade deadline that comes up, I think, next Friday, and everything else is going to kind of transpire alongside this. Cap space, though, as mentioned, Mark Stone was put on LTIR, long-term injury reserve, frees up the cap space, put Vegas at, I want to say, like $12 million in free cap space. You make this trade, you move Zach Dean, you bring in Ivan Barbashev, and there's enough cap space that you could make another big-time trade. And there's still rumors that Timo Meier is likely on the Vegas Golden Knights target list to bring in at the trade deadline. That would be a huge move. This would be maybe the biggest trade deadline moves, a pair of that we've seen in a long time, and especially the best that we've seen from the Vegas Golden Knights. But the cap situation is going to be a little bit tight once this offseason comes around. Now, Mark Stone's going to come back off the LTIR, which means you're going to add him back into the fold. And now Vegas is sitting around $1 million left. And Ivan Barbashev is going to be a free agent. Alongside, if you were to bring in Timo, he would as well be a free agent. So, then the question arises, what would you do? Would this just be a rental where you let them go on their way the next year? Or could you free up some cap space? Now, I think you could free up some cap space, and there's a couple ways of doing that. You could move on from a guy that is in the same position as Barbashev, or you could move some other pieces that are no longer needed. For example, and although I really like Panda, Robin Lehner has been dealing with a lot of injuries lately. He's on, I want to say he's last year, next year. You could free up a little bit of money there because you have Logan Thompson, Laurent Brossoit, and Aiden Hill, who have all looked very, very good when they have played. I mean, Logan Thompson was just an all-star. There's some cap space you could free up by moving on from Robin Lehner. You're getting to free up cap space from your free agents going out. Now, sadly, that could be a bad thing because there are some good options there. Of course, I mean, Barbashev is going to be a free agent, and you'd like to bring him back. Robin Leonard could be moved out, and you could also see some other pieces moved out. There's a lot of money tied up in some of these guys, and you have some older players on this team. Maybe you can trade them out, hopefully not for future considerations, as we constantly see. And there are some names floating about. I'm not a fan of them all. I've seen some reports that Wild Bill could be on the trade market come summertime. I don't think you're going to trade out any big pieces this year. You're trying to contend. You're trying to bolster your odds to win the championship this year. So I don't see like you trading out William Karlsson or anything like that this year to bring in another player or get cap space ready for the summer. Now, I'm a huge fan of William Karlsson, probably my favorite player on the team, so I don't want to see that happen, but I wouldn't be too surprised if, guy like William Karlsson, guy like Pietrangelo, or some of these guys in lower lines do get moved out. I wouldn't be too shocked by that, but you do have to look at these cap situations and the fact that you're going to have Barbashev as pretty much a rental at this current moment. You're going to see some sort of movement once the summer comes around. But let's talk about, right now in this current moment, what can you get out of Ivan Barbashev? And if I can get this loaded back up on my tablet right here, as mentioned, last year 60 points. He had 26 goals, so you're going to get a good share of goal scoring off of Ivan, and that's a good thing because Vegas, although they've been kind of on a really good streak as of late, they've also struggled with it at long periods of time. Vegas has scored, 5+ goals in like 4 games since February rolled around, which is a really, really good number. But last night we just saw another struggle, losing 2-3, which is something you don't want to see against the Stars. And Ivan potentially could get slotted in, and I don't think, he's great. I haven't seen what his shootout numbers look like, nor if he has even been in the shootout. But maybe you throw him in because your shootout's not working at all. I mean, we lose so many games. Vegas loses so many games in the shootout pretty much every single year. Last year we saw it a bunch, Robin Leonard, Logan Thompson. I mean, we just saw multiple now with Laurent Brossoit, Aiden Hill. This team, although they make some good saves when it comes to the shootout, they're not able to score themselves, and that's something you really need. Maybe you toss Ivan in there just to try it out. I'm not sure what his numbers are, but that could be an option right there. And, he is a good move. You don't trade too much away. Yeah, you trade Zach Dean, who was your first overall pick in 2021, and that, it kind of sucks that you're moving on so quickly from your young talent. I mean, we're seeing over and over, either Vegas doesn't have their first-round draft picks because they trade them away, or they trade away their current players that they're trying to groom up. Now, you still have Brendan Bryson, who I'm a huge fan of, but frankly, he could also be in the trade market if you trade for a guy like Timo Meier. But you do have him on the team now, and, I think it's worth it. Right now, Vegas is in a really, really good spot. You're number 1 in the Western Conference, barely over the Stars by 2 points, I want to say. Of course, you lose last night to them, but you're still above them. You're a top 5 team points percentage-wise. Not 100% sure on that, but in the NHL, Vegas is a really, really good team. They have one of the best odds to win the Western Conference, and they could really make a run at the Stanley Cup this year. So bringing in a guy like Ivan who can get you points, get you goals off some of those lower lines outside of Jack Eichel and Chandler Stevenson, guys like that are going to be top-heavy, you bring in a guy like Ivan, this could be a really good boost for Vegas team to get some extra points, whether that's now or in the playoffs. And I think that this is going to work out. I think this is a really, really good move for Vegas, and they didn't give too much away. Some people have said it's overpay, but I think that's just a little bit too much of assumptions. I think Zach Dean, maybe the expectations for him are higher than what people are presuming you're going to get out of Ivan, especially for the fact that he's going to be a rental. But right now, you're in win-now mode. You don't know what next year's going to hold or the year after. And even if Zach Dean were to become a all-star level player, and Ivan currently isn't at an all-star level, but even if he becomes that later, you don't know what the team's going to look like later. So doing this move now, when you're in such a good spot, was a great move for Vegas. And he's only 27 years old, which is very young for hockey in general terms. He's played about 6 years in the league, some, decent numbers, 60 points last year. He's about 0.5 around that threshold. And he plays a lot of games. That's something that I kind of skipped over. That's really, really important. He plays a lot of games. Last year he played 81 of 82 games. He's played 59. I think that's pretty much all of them this year. That's something that Vegas really, really needs, is a guy that's going to be able to go out and play all the time. We're seeing important players miss time. And not only goalies, of course, Rob Leonard, Logan Thompson, but important players. I mean, Mark Stone is the reason why you have to bring in Ivan Barbashev, because he's on LTIR, got hurt again. He's a huge player that got hurt. Jack Eichel's missing time left and right. Alex Pietrangelo misses time at times. I mean, all these guys are missing time at the wrong time. I mean, it's always the wrong time they get injured. But nonetheless, Ivan Barbashev is going to bring you a guy, at least on paper, that's going to play hockey for you almost all the time. Like 99% of the time. And you hope that nothing horrible were to happen. And if it does, then that is the Vegas effect, I guess. But bringing in a guy that can get you points on the lower lines is going to be healthy and makes us seem better in their current win-now situation. I think this was a really, really good move for Vegas. But what do you guys think about this trade? Do you think it was the right move? Did they trade too much, too little? Was this the perfect trade? And do you think Vegas is done making moves? Or is Timo Meier potentially still in the mix to be joining the Vegas Golden Knights? What do you guys all think about that? If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me. And as always, I hope it taught something today. Hope it made you smile. Hope it made you laugh. Something really important to me. Affecting someone else today in a great way. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.